Okay, let's get going here. On Tuesday, we worked with repeating images that already conveniently came in rectangular formats. Everything I put up there was something you could just crop down and it would just go. But today I want to address ones, especially ones you make yourselves, that aren't rectangular or have uneven lighting or stuff like that, which is going to make them not work right out of the box. And so what do we do? So if we get back into Photoshop, so we're going to start in Photoshop and then kick over into Revit. Let's start with our Photoshop here. So what we did last week was take an image and just crop it down to make a rectangle. What we're going to do today is, if we have to reshape it before we crop it, and then eventually reshaping and then retouching the edges before we can finally crop it to make it what we want. So a couple different ways of dealing with those. So we can take anything that's a reasonably straightforward image and use it, unless it's way out of square. For instance, if you took a picture looking up at a building and in the image it went like this, where it's really straight, that's really a sort of extreme thing to start straightening up. We're going to end up with some weird pixelation and stuff up where it stretches. But for most of the ones that I'll be showing you today and the ones I see that you've sent in, we should be fine. So let's just start with today's sample files. So the one I want to open will be wall pattern 57 skewed. This is how the original image came to me, and I'll show you how we got it to be rectangular. So we'll go into Photoshop, open documents, class 5 seamless images, wall pattern 57 skewed. Okay. At any image at any time, we can just see what this would look like if it were repeated by going to View Pattern Preview. Say okay. And you can see that this is pretty disjunct. The large size over here doesn't match the small size over there. The tops don't match the bottom. So what we want to do is beat this into shape, essentially. Let's go back to just a regular view, uncheck pattern preview. And again, what I want to do is identify the 4 points that are going to be the corners of my rectangle. And I think what I'll do is pick here, 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 and here. So the first thing I'm going to do is just drag the pick the crop tool and drag it down so that those points are all included. I'm going to have to stretch this some to make it work. So I've included this one. I've included this one. I want to go from over to, where did I say, here, there. See, this side is almost vertical already. So I'm just going to treat that as vertical. So I've got a whole one. No, that's not right. This has got to come up another one. I want to be a whole, one whole hexagon here, and then 2 halves out to the other side. So I'm going to crop there and then stretch these corner points out to the image, out to the corner points of the rectangle, just to sort of normalize all that. So I've positioned the crop, then hit enter to actually do it. So as I'm about to stretch this image, I want to set up some rectangular guides to keep track of where I want these. Basically, I want this one to come over to there. So I'll drag that down and this one to come up to there and this one to come down to there. So I guess I'm positioning it, include the whole thing and then come back into it and adjust it. And I'll use the skew command again. And I'm going to have to promote this up from a background image to a regular layer so I can mess with it. I can't, the background's less amenable to that. We can just click on unlock and it becomes layer 0. And then I can go to edit, transform, skew. Skew lets me move the corner in one direction, distort lets me move it in 2. I'm going to just stick with this one. It's a little more disciplined. And then I'm just going to sort of drag the image. The dot there is the corner of the image. I'll drag this up. And drag this down. looks pretty good. I've got a little error here. I've got this little dark bit at the top and no corresponding dark bit up here, but let's say it's good enough for now. So that's going to be my image. Now my image is stretched out that big. I'm going to crop it again to there. Hit enter, and then there's my image picked up. Wait, I got to crop it here. There we go. Now it comes to us named wall 57 skewed. I'm going to save a copy of this, which will let you pick the type of file you want. We'll just be using JPEGs. And I'm going to call this pattern 57 de-skewed. Just into the same folder and then copy at the end, say okay. And we'll keep that. And actually, before I did that, I should have gone to the pattern preview again just to make sure it was okay. View pattern preview. And we can see that lines up the way it's supposed to do it. Okay, so we save that. And then in Revit, we can go do what we did before, which was create a material and use this JPEG as its image. I'll pick that one we were using yesterday, that file. So to create a new material, I go to Manage Materials, and we'll go down to New Material, Create New Material. And it starts out by calling it Default New Material. I'm going to right-click and rename it and call it Wall Pattern 57D Skewed, just to keep it track from anything else you might have. So there's that. And we'll go pick that image now. It was in my documents. That's right. It's in my documents. Do you see these somewhere? Class 5 seamless. There we go. Okay. So here's wall pattern 57 de-skewed. Copy, the one we just made. And then we click on that. And we get to tell it how large that was. And I seem to remember that if we made it, it was some funny, it wasn't like 1 by 2, it was 1.5 by 1.5. So let's just try. I'm going to unbind those and make this 1 foot 4 inches. Sorry. 1 foot 4 inches and 1 foot. That's not quite good enough. Let's make that be 2 feet. That's too wide. 1 foot 8. Oops. Remember this thing came up 1 foot 8 inches. That looks about right. 1 foot high and 1 foot 8 inches wide. I'm sure if we did the math, we could figure out why. Done. Okay, we've created that. And now I can paint this on here. PT for paint. Oh, I didn't call it BG. I should have done that. So there's this. That's the new one. Paint it on there. Done. Okay, and you can see that it's behaving properly. So I should go back and rename this guy underscore BG wall pattern 57 de-skewed, and then it'll move up to the top with all my others that I had made. Okay, close that. Okay, so for the next one, let's see, back in Photoshop, sorry. We can close that. Save it. Oh, that's the original one. We don't want to save that. That's that original one that we started with. And I want to open the cobblestone image here, which we'll see we can line up with the line's okay, but our colors, we're not going to match colors. We're going to have to do some creative blending here. So just to preview what that's going to look like, if we can go into View, Pattern Preview, and we can see that that looks great in terms of things lining up, but like here the brick color changes, here the brick color changes from one side to the next at the top and the bottom. So I don't think we need to do any cropping at all. Everything like that seems to line up just fine. But we will need to blend these two colors together, borrow some of this over into there to see how that all works out. So the nice thing is we don't have to go back view. We don't have to go back here and try to figure out what that is. We can edit it right in that view preview, so we can see how the edges all smooth out. So we go back to pattern preview. I can be painting out here, in which case it'll happen in here. If I do it in here, it'll be happening in all the other places that sort of brown one works on. So maybe just go right down to this batch right here to start with. Maybe I'll just use the clone tool to sort of clone from this color over into this batch right here. So that's the stamp tool, S for stamp. And then the area that I'm picking is the size of the round black. That's my source. So I use Alt click to place where I'm starting from, and then I can just paste into here. And smooth those guys out. And you'll see that it's done that on all the copies of that as well that are here and here and above. Let's see where else. Maybe down here at the bottom. So this is all sort of weird. I'll pick this one. So S again. Alt click. And if I decide I want my brush to be bigger, once the tool is active, I can right click and change it up a little bit. Instead of 20 pixels, something, I'll make it a little bigger, like 30 or something, just so it can go a little faster. And I'll do hardness. I want this to be really, really smooth, so I'm going to have my hardness at 0, just to make it all blend together as best I can. So I'll do Alt click right here, and then I just start painting. Here I went down a little too far and grabbed some of that, so I'm just going to do Alt click again up here and paint over that. And while I'm here, I'm going to fix these bottoms as well. I'm going to set a new starting point, Alt click, and then paint up into here. I'm not trying to be, Rembrandt or anything. Just want it not looking too terrible. Over here, this corner, I think I'll use this large brown area as the source for that. Alt click. See, because this whatever happens to this guy also happens to this guy up here. Looks pretty fair. I sort of wish I could turn that blue thing off, just because it's a little misleading. I guess here I got some differences. Alt click. And sometimes you'll find that if you've sort of stopped and started, you get sort of little duplicates of something because you've sort of picked it up again. Just sort of paint one of those out. Those look pretty good at this point. Maybe this is a little off. I'll grab in here, Alt click, and paint off into here. Just to smooth the overlap so we're not looking too bad. Okay, and then go back to View, turn the filter off just to preview it and say, fine, looks good. File, save a copy back to that original folder, and I'll call it cobblestone copy. That's fine. I'll do cobblestone retouched copy just to blended copy, just so I remember what these are. Okay. And then we can do the same thing with that. And in this one, the coursing was perfect for us. That just worked out. And I forget if I'd done that. If this basically came from a company that sells masonry patterns. This is probably computer generated to start with. So it worked out well. What we'll do with the next one, we can close this. No, and open the brick wall. So this one has a couple of things going on that we need to pay attention to. One is we'll need to skew it so we get horizontal coursing. I think I need to pull this corner out a little bit to get these guys feeling a little more vertical. One thing that's tricky about this one is it's not an entirely regular wall to start with. So we're going to have to make some sort of design decisions. One of which is that it's going 3 longs and a short, 3 longs and a short, 3 longs and a short. We want to be able to keep, in this case, an even number of horizontal courses so that plays through and we don't get 2 shorts right on top of each other. So once we've de-skewed it and cropped it and done a sort of geometric things to it, then we're still going to have to come in and do what we did on the cobblestones, which is merge the colors together so we get them continuous across there. So let's see what's involved. Let's just say we're going to go to there. Oh, and also, it's nice to be able to use as much of the image as possible. If we use a very small image, the repeat's going to be very obvious. So we try to use as much of this as possible. So I want to be able to go up an even number of courses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't quite have 12, so I'll bring my next one down to here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right. So that ends on the middle of those 3 long ones, and this one below it ends on the middle of 3 long ones. So that's good. And then horizontal, vertically, you can see that these guys don't all line up. This just because it's a roughly made wall. But I think I will sort of pull this corner out a little bit eventually. And then over here, those are pretty straight altogether, top to bottom. So maybe just leave that one. So I'm going to crop to these edges. And here's what I want to do, is to be able to put my crop right in the middle of the mortar course. Oh, let's do this. Let's move these to the middle of the brick. We can select these and put this to the middle of the brick and this to the middle of the brick. And it's easier to aim at and retouch a brick than it is to get these to end up with a half a mortar course at the top of the image and a half a mortar course at the bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, and 2 halves is 10. Okay, so I'm going to crop to these guys, and then we'll see where we go from there. Crop tool. Drag in, drag in, drag in, drag in. And the trick here is my repeating pattern. I want to have 3 long ones and a short one, 3 long ones and a short one. Oops. I need 3 of those there, which I don't have. So let me Control Z for a second. Control Z. Drag these back. Sorry. Okay, this is the important thing, is to repeat this pattern, this brick pattern, which is some sort of modified Flemish bond. I forget what it's called. I need this 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1. I don't have a 3, 3, 1 over there. And I don't have enough here to make it up, so I'm going to have to 3, 3. I'm going to have to drag this guy 3, 3, 1 to there. That's going to have to be my repeat. 3 of them and a short one. 3 of them and a short one. 3 of them and a short one. That's what's going to. Yeah, when I took the picture, I should have just included more out here, but I didn't. So that's going to make this a slightly less varied looking image, just because we don't have as much stuff. But that's the nature of this beast. If we're actually trying to repeat this pattern, which I think we have to do. Okay, so now we go to crop, come into there, come down to here, come into here, up to there, see what happens. Up half a brick at the bottom, and that's already pretty good. So edit, got to promote this up to a layer. Edit, transform, skew, edit, transform, skew. There we go. Crank that up so it looks right. Take this down a little tiny bit, maybe. Get them horizontal. I think that'll have to do. See if these, you might have to do a little mixing and matching. See, some of these in the middle are now kind of off. We'll see what's involved there. Let's do view pattern preview. Got to turn that off. View pattern preview. Well, if I'm looking at the right side of this image, it looks like I can bring the whole thing, the whole side down a little bit and get all these to line up a little bit better. So let's see if I can just go to transform skew right here. And by grabbing here, I can move the whole side of the image up and down. You can see how that really pulls them right into place that way. You'll save a lot of retouching and trying to fix stuff. Okay, there's that. Oh. And now I want to do some of the blending across bricks. So it'll be a little trickier because they're more obviously different. I'll use S for stamp. I'm going to make my size a little smaller to get a little more control over it. Okay. S, Alt, click. Actually, what I'm doing, I sort of grab the joint, half of the half on the joint and half on the brick, so that when I start painting it, I get half a joint and half a brick up there. Same thing over here. Okay, so that's pretty good. A little bit disjunctive up here. So you can see how that starts to work out. I'm going to turn that off again. File, save a copy, brick wall copy. That'll be fine. Save. Okay. Go back to Revit. And if we make a new material out of that, to this one, we'll have to be a little more specific about the heights of them. We know that they're proportionally are correct. We don't need to stretch out anything. We want to be able to make sure that we have each group of 3 ends up being 8 inches. So that'll be what we need to do to make that be dimensionally accurate. So that's manage materials, new. I'm going to call this one rename underscore BG old bricks. Image brick wall copy. Okay. Now we need to come in and make that the right size. And it's looking at a half. I'll count the whole ones first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 2 halves make it 10. And 10 inches times each one is 2.2 2/3, which is 2.667. So the whole thing is 26.7 inches high. That whole thing is supposed to be. And the whole width is 1, 2, 3. Oh, we'll just call it 28 by 28 is what we'll do. These are 8, 8, 8, and 4, and that's our repeating module. So we'll just make them 28 inches both ways. Okay. Okay. Leave that one alone. And then don't forget to hit apply before you head out of here. Okay. So I can use paint on this. I can scroll up to my BG ones, BG old bricks, and paint on there. And you'll see I made a mistake here in the bottom, somewhere along the bottom or slash top of my image. I've got some things that aren't lining up correctly. So I need to go back and look at that back in Photoshop. Go back to, and this is often an iterative process, so I just keep them both open all the time. View, pattern preview. Oh, how did I miss that? I have to decide where it's easiest to fix it. Actually, it's just the same thing. If I fix it here, it's fixed down there. So, I got these joint lines are all wacko. I think I'll assume that this row here, this section here is what I'm going to oomph up into the above there. So I can bring this joint line up, bring this joint line up. S, Alt, click. And then just sort of staying in that line, I can just do that. Alt, click. Copy that up. Yeah. Click. Having fun yet? Alt, click. Well, that's better. If anybody's really looking super hard at your brick patterns, they should be looking at your design, not at your brick patterns. But I think there's a little something wrong here. What's going on here? Sometimes this just got so screwed up. I'm just going to get down like somewhere it's got sort of similar. Maybe I'll just go to here and grab this brick joint and put it up there. Let's just try that. S, Alt, click. Something like that. I mean, who can tell? That's why you keep your softness, your hardness way down, so these all just blend together. That's much better. Okay, so this is brick wall file. Save a copy again. Brick wall copy save. Yes. Okay. Then we'll go back into Revit. Got to go into manage materials. I think I just need to pick this again. Right now it's still working on the old one, as you can see. So we need to just click on the name of the file, and we can go get it, the current version that we fixed. Say okay, apply, okay, and then these get fixed. So having them both open at the same time is pretty helpful, a way to do that. And you see it does repeat. You know, that's this white one, sort of lighter one, sort of jumps out at me, but that's just what happens. It's when your sample size is pretty small. But if we take an image and do some rotations and mirrorings, we might end up with much more scattered, and hence we sort of get a larger base image. You know, then we start repeating that back and forth, and that's what I want to do with the next image, which is called White Marble. Get back into Photoshop. File, close. No. Open. White Marble. I don't know how big this is. An inch by 2 inches or a foot by 2 feet or something. But you can see if we start repeating this across like a whole countertop or something, we're just going to start really picking up this little shape. But if maybe it dances around a little bit and changes location, we can do that. So the first thing I want to do, Photoshop has the concept of a canvas, which is the whole area that you're working on. And right now our canvas is the same size as our image. So here's our image. What I want to do is make the canvas, let's say, twice as high and twice as wide. And then we can copy this image into the new empty space and play around with them there, rotating them, inverting them, that kind of stuff. So let's give that a shot, see what happens. So it'll be the same, the same base material. We can get a lot more variation in this without us having to do a great deal more work. I'm going to want to put copies of this into those other three quadrants. So right now I'm just going to copy these guys. Edit. We need to promote this up to a layer. Edit, copy. So now that's in the clipboard. Now I can go to image, canvas size, and go to percent and make it 200 by 200 and come out of that bottom corner. Okay. And now I can paste this in, which I copied, Control V, makes a new layer, aligned the same way to start with, and it'll snap into place. And let's say, this guy being right in the middle is sort of a pain. I think I'll maybe just move this over here a little bit, and flip this. I'm going to mirror this guy. That's edit, transform, mirror, flip horizontal. I might copy this, Control C, Control V. That makes a new layer, layer 2. I might copy this over here. A couple things start when you do mirrors of things, you start getting these odd-looking things that isn't really how nature happens. But let's Control C and Control V and put some other stuff out here. I'm essentially making sort of a random image here. And because this guy is right in the middle, I'm going to keep seeing that again and again and again. But I think if I go into View, pattern preview. I think what I'll do is just sort of get rid of some of these guys. So I'm going to go into S, Alt click, and just get rid of some of them. So it's not quite so regular. And while I'm at it, I'll fuzz up. I'll borrow something from here to put down the middle of here, so they're not so obviously mirrored. S, S. To really make these work right, I need to merge all these layers. So uh, merge layers. Now it's all one layer. And you see, I've still got these sort of lines showing up where these uh, joined first. So I'll do S, just grab some stuff from up here and sort of paint it um, onto the obvious horizontal and vertical lines. Oops. Oh, what's that? Merge layers. And these are repeating more often than I want. So I'm gonna get rid of this guy right here. Little bits of it. I wanted to have that upside down. Maybe I'll just get rid of that. And on these edges here, where I've got these mirrorings, I'm just grabbing random stuff from somewhere and sort of spreading it along those edges, so we don't get the book matched effect. You can sort of just do that randomly on all the edges. I can't over here. It's a little hard to see right where these lines are. I can sort of see something happening through there, but I'm just gonna try to make that line a little less obvious. Ours won't be anything alike, obviously. But anyway, now that I've got that, I can save that as a white marble seamless file. Save a copy. White marble seamless. Seamless.jpg. Save. You can zoom out on all this in Photoshop to get a sense of what it's going to look like at different scales in Revit. And I can see I've got sort of a dark band here showing up, which I guess is over here somewhere. I'm not going to worry about that. Looks good enough for work now, and certainly it's going to be fine for doing a countertop or something like that. If there were a whole huge wall, you'd see the repeats, but I don't think you would in terms of things that marble is usually used for, or single sheets of it. So if I go into Revit again, manage materials, new material, right click, rename, _BG, white, marble, seamless. Excuse me. And then we'll go get the white image seamless. And then we can say that's any size we want. I'm just going to call it 2 feet by 2 feet. and then can paint with that. So looks reasonably good. And its reason it's dark is because it's in shadow from where this image is lit. Come around here. You got some funny little repeats of things. I could go clean those up if I felt like it, but I'm happy. I want to work on the images that you guys sent over just to see how we can apply these tools of cropping, de-skewing, blending, and randomizing. And I think we'll just skip to the decals part till next week. So let's go see what people have here. We can probably skip the Revit part, right? We know what's going on there. So file close. No. File open. Desktop. Classify photos. Okay, look at these wonderful things. Let's look at them. Large icons, extra large icons. Woohoo! Let's do an easy one first, which I think is the brick, since we're sort of used to that. Did I have two copies of that? No, look, two people took the same picture. Here's one person's toes down here still in the concrete. Somebody else's toes, which is on the brick. Let's do this one because it's the first one I saw. That actually doesn't matter which one open. So what do we need to do here? Let's look at this just in the pattern preview. And this is really jumping out at me. So I think we'll end up taking our thing from down here in the middle, sort of get rid of that whole top part. You know, I think this is maybe the person's shadow on a gray day, which would restrict us to maybe here. But I think that's fair. Take that back off again. Well, actually, let's do this. Since we have two pictures of the same piece of brick, let's go to File, Open, and see if that other one is better suited to what we needed to do. There's that one. It's cranked, but looks pretty smooth. Let's take this one to view pattern preview. A little better. You know, it's sort of darker down here, but that's because the bricks themselves are darker. Let's go back to the first one. Okay, so let's say I'm just going to use, I think I'm not going to use this dark brick in any case, just because it's going to really telegraph going along. But let's say we're going to pick, again, we need to pick, I can't like pick these 9 squares because then I'll have a horizontal next to a horizontal. So I need to pick 4 blocks by 4 blocks. I guess it's these guys right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Let's drag this over to preview our cuts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think I'll try to have the cropping be right down the middle of the joints. So I don't have to do any blending bricks across joint lines. And here will be there. And 1, 2, 3, 4 to here. So as I'm doing the initial cropping, I want to be sure that I have at least everything I want. So here I have at least the middle of this joint. Here I have more. Down here I have at least the middle of that joint. Oh, and here I need to bring this down so I can include this whole joint because I got none of it there. So I'll go to the halfway through that, and then we can expand these out till the joint lines go straight up the middle of the guidelines. Okay, I think that'll do. So let's go to crop. 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 And crop. Okay, I think that'll do it. Hit enter. Then we'll promote this to a layer so we can stretch it, edit, transform, skew. So I want to stretch this image so that the uh, middle of the joint is right on the crop line. Middle of the joint is on the crop line. That's about right. Middle of the joint is on the crop line. And right here we have what you can see that the this bows in here. After we crop this, we use the warp tool to stretch out the middle of the thing. Cropped. And then once we've done that, see, I want to just move the middle of this out. I can go to Edit, Transform, Warp. And with Warp, you can just pick anywhere on the image and move it anywhere that you want it to go. Control Z. So we're going to just pick right, very minor warp, right from the middle of that joint out to there. That's pretty good. And one nice thing is, these joint patterns are so sort of irregular anyhow that any little weirdnesses in our uh, enter. Sorry, Control C. I keep messing this up. Escape. Yeah. View, pattern preview. Yeah. That, the only thing I might want to do here is to, I start to see this. I mean, it is a repeating pattern, just the pattern itself is repeating, but to get a little variation into it, I think I will take this, copy it, and rotate it a couple of times. So back to turning off the pattern preview, Control A, Control C. Now I'm going to make that, let's say, bigger by, again, that 200% image canvas size. Two hundred. Okay. Control V. Control V. V. So here I have these that are exactly the same, separate layers. I think I'll take this one and rotate it to put this discolored brick down in the bottom corner. Rotate, edit, transform, rotate 180. Okay, so we're still vertical, horizontal. That's good. Shift click those, right click, merge layers, file, save a copy, bricks herringbone, save. Yes. Okay. And now this, in terms of size, remember each brick is 8 inches. The proportions of the bricks here are different than when seen in a wall because we're looking at the large top side, not the narrower edge side. So including the 3/8 inch mortar joint, each brick is 4 by 8 inches. So this is 8, and these two together are 8. So we got 16. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 8 is 64 inches in both directions for Revit's concern. And you can see how that's going to work. I don't need to go through it. I think I would like to, if we go into print preview here, see these guys right here, little smudges. That's going to start showing up in a funny way. View, pattern preview. Sort of becomes identifiable. So I think what I do is go into here and just get rid of some of those S. I'll just pick from right here to right there. And maybe from a right facing one, maybe from right here to right there. Make it a little less obvious. S. Something like that. Control S. Yes. Okay. And we can see how that would do in Revit 64 by 64. Let's pick another one that's not so normal. Okay. This one's going to be, I've photographed this as well. And the trick here is you got this real deep, dark thing coming across the middle. If we do it, it's just going to be repeating. So I think I'm going to skip that. Let's just think about how we do these instead of necessarily going ahead and doing them. This one is great. It would just need to be either stretched or warped or stretched or something so that side pulls in. Same with these. Um, there's a very slight difference in tone. This is a little lighter here and getting a bit darker, so we might just use one half of that, something like that. I mean, it's an interesting texture. It might be useful to take it and put it somewhere with much more even lighting because we got, this going to be an issue. Uh, I think all of these sort of continuous ones will have just that issue of lighter areas and darker areas. So, but the nice thing about like this one is it's such a small pattern. The repeating pattern is only this, like this big. How small? What is our repeat? Let's say if we take a green one as the middle. Oh, if the green one is the middle, it's just 9 squares. So I'm sure we can find 9 squares in there that are evenly enough lit to make it work. Yeah, I would just do like this batch right here. If you go over into this stuff, you're asking for trouble. File open. Uh, this is interesting. I could see using that just as it is. So if we want this as a repeating pattern, like for a airport lobby or something rather, we just need to do a little bit of stretching or warping so that these lines up horizontally across this way. And they could still do a little bit of variation in the middle, just so it wouldn't feel so static. And then do some blending to blend this edge in with this edge. I think that'd be pretty easy to do. Should we try? Because it's different from the bricks. Well, I don't think I'm going to crop it at all. We'll probably just blend out this slightly darker area here with what's over there. Let's just take this right into view, pattern preview. Whew, it's really nice already. And I think I'll just use the warp tool just to pull these down a little bit. I mean, this is perfect right here. I don't need to move the whole. Nicely photographed. I mean, this is good. This works out. Um, so let's see. Let's do the geometry part first, and then worry about the colors. So if we go into here and just pick the edit. Oh, I've got to promote it from a background to a layer that I can edit. Edit, transform, warp, and just grab here and sort of just pull it down a little bit. Oh, that's the whole image. Ooh, that's not what I wanted to have happen. Sorry. It's just too. Oh, I was just too close to the top. I'll come down here and pull these. this is really nice. This is getting to be a lovely texture. I think the only thing I would just sort of smooth these out a little bit, smooth this. So we're done with that. So now we can go to stamp. I'm just going to bring some of this dark up into there. S, and through these sort of lines here. S. I've got this skinny line right here, which is meaning this right, like there's not quite a match. Fill that in. That's better. This right here, darker area is this right, a little bit darker. I'll just grab over here where it's a little bit lighter and try to lighten that up a little bit. I mean, that would be like killer airport lobby. Um, I mean, frankly, I think this is one that maybe works better as just as that shape. Tell you, on Tuesday, we'll apply that shape as a decal onto a piece of stuff on the floor and use it as a rug. Actually, this is interesting. Each of these individually is sort of interesting as a texture. But I think the thing as a whole doesn't really lend itself to that unless you wanted to make a slightly wider rug or something or other. So I'm gonna bag this. Let's look for uh this is just a matter of finding an area that's not too light or too dark. Close, open. Oh, that's sort of the situation we have in this one too, where we got gleam, we've got dark, we've got light. So I think those would be very, very hard to work with. Conceivably, if you go back at a different time, this is coming from a window, go back at night, just light it straight from above with the ceiling light or something. That should be pretty easy. Let's look at this one. I think what's going to happen here is that these are so obvious that it's going to be hard to disguise that. You're better off going back and taking a picture of the whole thing again. This just keeps popping up again and again and again and all these edges. What's the distinction between a unique thing and a repeating pattern that you want just as the background on something? I think is what we sort of have to acknowledge, that this would be, this is starting to look like one of those magic eye images. Like if we cross our eyes, it'll be a bunch of whales or polar bears or something or other. But that's just too painful. Let's pick one of these smooth ones. Well, this is an interesting one. This seems like it's a perfect example of what we want to do here. And again, the area pick, we sort of want to get a smooth area. We really don't need a very big area to find that repeat. Really, it's just from the center of this guy to the center of this guy is a repeating pattern. Let's just give that a try. Again, I'll use my Maybe to do it to there to get a little more variety. So you can tell by now what this needs. Crop it, stretch it, recrop it, and blend. So this was done a bit too fast, but it will be easy to back up a bit and fix it. Anyway, my brain's getting tired here. So it boils down to identify your repeat, crop to that generously, skew and warp as needed, crop to the exact dimensions, and then smooth the edges out as needed.